He's just singing.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate your patience in our delayed start of our regular city council meeting. At 5:30, we had a special work session for discussion of solar power in Kaysville. It was a good discussion. The council and members of the community, members of the solar community, it did cause us to delay our regular start time for our city council. So this is the regular city council meeting. This is the regular portion of the Kaysville City Council meeting, Thursday, October 20th, 2016. We're starting at about 7:22 p.m. For our meeting this evening, we'll have an opening that will be provided by Council Member Jake Garn after Justin and Braxton from PAC 307 will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our Heavenly Father, we are grateful to be here this evening. We're grateful to live and be associated with this great community of people here in Kaysville. And we're grateful for our relatively safe streets and for the services that the city provides for us. And we're grateful for our neighbors and look forward to serving them this evening as we consider various issues. We ask that thy guidance will be with us, that we will seek to make decisions based on truth and based on the facts as we have them, and with a desire to serve the community in a way that will benefit everyone. And we ask that thy Spirit may be with us, and say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen.
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Justin Braxton, for participating in our and leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and Councilmember Garn for providing our opening. The next item on our agenda is Business Spotlight. We have with us tonight Exquisite Effects Salon, and for those of you that don't know, we started a tradition a little while ago to provide a few moments in our city council meetings to highlight local businesses and include them in our upcoming newsletter. And so tonight, Exquisite Effects Salon.
He says, take the floor. Thank you for having us. We appreciate it. My name is Shelley Davis. We opened Exquisite Effects Salon April of 2008. I have been in the beauty industry for almost 28 years. I'm very tired. I employ about 8 stylists, including myself. And we've been making a decision the last couple of years and revamping the salon around, and hope to soon here in a few weeks open a beauty supply to the public here. We are excited for our new journey here in Kaysville to bring more revenues to our community, obviously. Also, we were able to, a couple of years ago, purchase Grandma's home, so we also reside here, and we enjoy living close to our business. We do great hair at Exquisite Effects Salon, and I deeply appreciate all my stylists with their enthusiasm in the industry. They're great. I have a few gifts for everyone also of some of the products that we use. Just a small proportion. Let's see. But most of all, thank you. Thank you very much for inviting us to be a part here in your city council. We would like to be more a part of the community, so I appreciate that. I'm very excited that you would have us come. Thank you so much. I don't know if my other half has anything to say, but he works there also. We have an online store, and we're very busy, very, very busy.
Where are you located, Shelley?
We are in Kaysville Plaza, which is right across the street from Zion's Bank. BC Chicken is there, yummy place to eat too, and Pa Spa, the gourmet Chinese food place. They're our neighbors. Love them too.
Just kitty corner from here.
Yeah, just right out here on Main Street. We did guys' things in there too. So share with your wives, share with your husbands. Please come and visit us. Just drop by to say hi. We definitely will let you know when we're having a grand opening. I'd love to have you all come. Thank you so much.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
He says I'm good. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to be here, and we'll look forward to highlighting your business, not only on our marquee, but on our website and in the upcoming newsletter as well. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, next on our agenda is call to the public. This is the time in the city council meeting when we open the microphone to any of you in attendance that would like to address the city council. We don't have any public hearings on scheduled as part of our agenda this evening, and so if you would like to speak to the city council regarding one of tonight's agenda items and you're not specifically listed on the agenda, we would ask you to take this opportunity to address the city council. So with that, we'll open call to the public. Okay, seeing no one taking the opportunity for a call to the public, we will move on to our next item, which that dovetails nicely. According to our city manager, the city hall is being fumigated promptly at 9:30 p.m.
It might even be at 9, Mayor.
Might not have anything to
be
do
at
with him
9.
catching a flight, but that's something like that. I can't quite remember. Next on our agenda is preliminary and final plat approval for Kerry Brook Estates First Amendment, amending Lot 19 and Lot 20 at 106 and 118 West Bear Creek Drive. Mr. Thompson.
Property out on Kerry Brook Estates. 2 lots that are joining each other. This is just simply a lot line adjustment. The property line used to run straight down into this corner, leaving a little wedge portion there. The 2 neighbors have agreed and made arrangements to relocate the property line on the angle as shown. So it's just simply exchanging about 500 square feet from one lot to the other. Leaves both lots fully in compliance, area and setbacks and all other requirements. So it was unanimously recommended by the Planning Commission.
Seems like a pretty straightforward one
Pretty
tonight.
straightforward.
I'll go ahead and make a motion then that we approve or adopt or grant preliminary and final plat approval for Kerry Brook Estates First Amendment, amending Lot 19 and 20.
I'll second that.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Snell and a second by Councilmember Page for approval as outlined. Any further discussion? I saw Mr. Griffin out in the audience and I think I said just that. That seems very straightforward. And I thought, I'm sorry I said that. I may have just jinxed it. So pretty straightforward. Turned out all right after all. Any further discussion? Councilmember Garn, will you start a vote, please?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Voting is unanimous. Next on our agenda is preliminary and final plat approval for Rebecca's Gardens Phase 3, amended at 1787 South Sunset Drive.
This is a similar lot line adjustment between 2 neighbors. It's a lot here in the subdivision, a lot here in the subdivision, with the common property line here. They've requested to adjust that property line instead of straight across. This neighbor has like to purchase this little portion back in the corner. There's a creek that runs through there. That's kind of why the line's not as straight and clean as the last one, but it makes sense to those 2 people. And so they're requesting the lot line adjustment as shown. Again, recommended by the Planning Commission. Everything is still in compliance.
Sounds great.
Well, I think it's pretty straightforward as well, so I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the Rebecca Gardens Phase 3 amended preliminary and final plat.
I'll second that.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Lee and a second by Councilmember Garn for approval as outlined. Any further discussion? I'm just going to take 30 seconds and tell the scouts that are in attendance, you may be wondering what we're doing. This is kind of like a map of your neighborhood, and you wonder how the property lines were drawn up between you and your next door neighbor or the house that you live in. They're all lined up like this. So these are two next door neighbors that are saying, hey, I'd like part of your yard. And we can't just say, sure, you can have it. It has to be declared on, this is called a plat, which is basically just a map of all the boundary lines. And so the reason why they're even before us tonight is the City Council and the Planning Commission's job is to make sure that it's done in accordance, it's the right lot size, that they don't come and try and put a business on it or put a grocery store in the middle of your neighborhood. So those are some of the things that we overlook. So both of these items that you've heard tonight are pretty much the same, but it's just us changing the boundaries on a map so that this guy up here can now have a little more additional property, and they've had to agree on it first before they came to us tonight. All right, with a motion and a second, Councilmember Adams, will you start a vote, please?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Voting is unanimous. Next on our agenda is request to rezone 0.44 acres of property at 40 East Crestwood Road to include a PRUD or planned residential use development overlay zone. Mr. Thompson.
Property under discussion tonight is highlighted here in yellow on Crestwood Road, just west of the Heritage Park. Property is currently zoned RM, which is residential multifamily. It allows, on this piece of property, would allow up to 6 units into a sixplex if they chose to do that. What the request is to apply the PRUD overlay zone so they can plat it as 2 threeplexes with individual ownership. So 3 3-unit townhouses is the more correct way to say it. Be common yard and common roadway and parking lot with each unit available for sale. So the request here is, in order to do this type of development with open space and common facility, we require the PRUD overlay zone. Again, everything complies with the ordinance. The only reason for this rezone request is so they can split it into individual ownership, which is typically considered a little nicer than 6 rental units under one ownership.
I just had a quick question on this one. Is there driveway for those, or is it just the roadway that runs between them that they use as
At this
driveway
point,
as well?
they're showing just a roadway in between with a 2-car garage and a driveway. We'll review that further when they actually do the subdivision plat to make sure the parking's adequate. The only item on the agenda tonight is just the PRUD overlay. So if you're inclined to approve it, we'd recommend that you do that subject to final plat approval, which will give you the opportunity to apply any conditions such as parking as you're referencing.
Okay.
And to Councilmember Lee's point, I also noticed clearly this doesn't appear this was, well, I was going to say maybe an official design, maybe it is, and I just offended some designer somewhere, but the roadway, I noticed that at the end there wasn't either a cul-de-sac or a hammerhead or some kind of turnaround option there. Right now it looks like it's just a road that comes straight down. Is that is acceptable for our standards, or would that also be discussed in the
As I mentioned, we haven't even looked at the plat yet.
Okay.
Other than just the concept that they wanted to do 2 sets of 3 townhouse units with individual ownership, so.
And they've actually got some photos of similar type product that I noticed is in our packets here, yeah. So it's actually, it's good product, it's not, yeah, it's actually a pretty good,
Allowed by the
starter
zone.
home, good investment opportunity for people just starting out, so. And the property is already zoned RM,
That's correct.
correct? This is just simply to allow the,
A little more flexibility in the design.
and the common area and things like that. That's why
I
the
mentioned they could
PRUD.
put a sixplex on there today without going to any public meeting, just by turning a permit in. This seems to be a little bit better of a product than that would.
And the other question I had is, it appears to be only on a portion of the total property that's zoned RM. There's a portion of the sliver that's to the east of this particular spot, correct?
Property to
That
the
longer
east
property is not,
already has apartments on it. That's what that was called.
oh, is that the Crestwood?
Crestwood Village.
Village
yes.
there, okay.
Yeah, so there are some apartments there
Okay.
currently.
Okay.
Well,
Thank-
no more, no? Okay, I'll go ahead and make an motion to rezone 0.44 acres of property at 40 East Crestwood Road to include the PRUD or planned residential use development overlay zone.
I'll second that.
Thank you. A motion by Councilmember Lee and a second by Councilmember Snell as outlined. Any further discussion? Councilmember Lee, will you start a vote, please?
Aye.
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 Thank you. The voting is unanimous. Next item on our agenda is Code of Conduct for Elected and Appointed Officials, Resolution 1610-1. Mr. Scott.
Yes, based on your comments from the last meeting, there were 4 changes made to the document. They include, under number 5, the change from booing during meetings are prohibited to discouraged. Under conflict of interest in number 6, that second paragraph, it dictates that the disclosure will be made of a conflict, but the value of those conflicts is not necessary. There is a couple of small typos that were corrected, and then the last one was the the bullet point number 4 there was changed as was suggested, saying that any member of the council acting in violation of this code of conduct, city code, or city policy and procedures may be removed from meetings. And that was the extent of the changes.
Okay. Thank you.
Bullet point number 4, under compliance.
Bullet point number 4, on the very end, exactly, under compliance and enforcement.
Gotcha. Yeah, well, this particular, the code of conduct's been under discussion for some time now, for a number of months. And I think it's been, we've had a lot of feedback, a lot of public comment, and a lot of public interest in this particular topic. So I think it's good to finally be here, and I think we have a good code of conduct to go with. I'll make a motion that we adopt the resolution that establishes the code of conduct.
I'll second that.
Thank you. A motion by Councilmember Snell and a second by Councilmember Page as outlined. Any further discussion?
Go ahead, Councilman. Mine's real quick. I was just going to say, like the changes, and particularly this one, I mean, there are, under number 6, where it's talking about disclosing conflicts of interest with investments, interest, sources of income, et cetera, and not necessarily needing to disclose what those amounts are. I think people know when they have a financial interest that's in conflict, and there are certain set amounts in state code that could be criminal violations over certain amounts, but I don't think it's necessary to repeat those here. So, and I like the code overall. I think it's we've been over it quite a bit, and we've arrived at something that's principles based, and I can certainly support it.
Thank you. Did you have something, Councilmember Reyes?
Just in passing, is there a way to put like a moratorium on the document so we can't rewrite it in the next 3-4 months? Can it be 12 months?
I don't know the answer to that. If the council, and maybe Shane probably knows, but I know we had discussions about public property once, and said if the council takes a motion to say that you can't ever do anything, a future council can't do anything, you can't necessarily bind yourself to not take action in the future. And I would think that would probably be the case here, but
I think that's very accurate. It's. I don't think anything you do and say that binds this really is a binding motion, even if it were made that way. A future council could reverse the binding motion, essentially. They could do almost. So, you can always do things that are more ceremonial as opposed to actual legally binding, but that would probably be the extent of it.
If it's okay, Mayor, if it's all right if I address Councilman Adams and
Sure.
Is there a concern or is there a reason? I'm just curious why maybe there's another way to accomplish the purpose, or is there a concern you'd like to share why you brought that up?
It was conveyed to me by other people. It happened with the vehicle policy. We wrote it a couple months after it was written, so just in an effort of keeping redundancy out, so.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, and I can just state for the record that I have no intention of changing it 2 or 3 months. I've already, I'd be glad when we can check it off our bucket list and move on to something else, but.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, we have a motion and a second. Councilmember Snell, will you start a vote?
Aye.
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 Thank you. The voting is unanimous. Next item on our agenda is quarterly budget presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. We've prepared an interim financial statement for the first quarter of fiscal year 2017. We've provided a copy of that in your Dropbox in a separate folder under financial reports, or I do have hard copies here if someone would like one. Okay?
I would like one just for speed.
I'll take one, Dean. Just pass it around.
This is something we'd like to do at least on a quarterly basis, is to review our financial condition as a city. This report consists of the first quarter of fiscal year 2017, which of course started on July 1st. Let me just mention that at our next council meeting, we will have our annual financial report, our fiscal year 16 annual financial report, and the report from the independent auditor, and that will be on November 3rd. Let me just quickly go through some of the items here. I think everything appears to be pretty much in line. Again, this is a summarized form. We do prepare monthly budget reports that are like this, and so we've consolidated that and prepared this summarized form. So the first page you'll look at includes the governmental funds. This report is based on the various funds that are held by the city. And the first page includes governmental funds. So if you look at the first block under general fund, which is the primary operating fund of the city, you'll see the revenue sources and also the expenditures. Just a couple items on revenue. Everything appears to be in line. Of course, property taxes are available in January, so that revenue source will show up in January. So most of that is sales tax based. Intergovernmental is down, but that is primarily restricted revenue, C road monies that come to the city. So it's more of a timing issue than anything else. So everything else under revenues appears to be very much in line. Expenditures, we've also provided, if you go to the second page, we provided more detail for the summarized expenditures under the general fund. And most areas are within what we would expect, 20 to 25% range for the budget. The next block includes the Redevelopment Agency Fund, and that's as expected. We've made our final payment on the property for the Smiths development, so that final payment has been made through RDA, and then we've transferred that money from the general fund and created an interfund loan for that payment. The building authority are the costs associated with the construction and the financing of the police station. So that accounts for the police station debt service, which of course that payment has not been made yet. And then the next fund would be the debt service fund, and there are essentially two items that we account for in that fund. It includes the fire apparatus, lease purchase payment, and also a lease purchase payment for a wide area mower for the Parks Department. And then the capital projects fund is a governmental fund that is typically multi-year projects or includes restricted revenues. You can see the items that are part of that capital projects fund, and then the council during this year has already authorized 2 additional projects, and that includes the door security system in this building, which we completed, and also the parking lot improvements at Heritage Park. And in that case, that is restricted revenues, park impact fees for the revenue source there. If you go to page 3, we'll look at the enterprise funds. Enterprise funds are accounted for a little bit differently. They're on a full accrual basis accounting. So you account for the revenues as the revenues are billed rather than when the money comes in. So it's a different type of accounting. But I think the key data point on all these funds is to look at the operating revenues over expenses. So if you look at the water utility fund, operating revenues of $756,000 to date, expenses $260,000. Operating revenue, revenue over expenses about $496,000. But again, keep in mind, in that case, we have not made our water payment to Weber Basin for the year. So these are things we'll monitor throughout the year. The sewer utility fund, also showing operating revenues over expenses. And as you know, that's primarily a pass-through to Central Davis Sewer District. Go to the next page, look at the electric utility fund. Operating revenues over expenses running pretty strong quarter to date, about $1 million in first quarter. So we'll see how that continues throughout the year. Pressure irrigation fund, again positive, operating revenues over expenses, and that is a pass-through as well. Most of the expenditures go to Davis and Weber Counties Canal Company. The next page, more enterprise funds, the sanitation utility enterprise fund, again positive, operating revenues over expenses. Stormwater, same condition. And then the last one is the ambulance fund, and currently it's showing expenses greater than revenues, and that's to be expected as well. We do a transfer each year to help cover some of those costs. And then the final page includes the permanent funds, the perpetual care fund, and the library endowment fund. And those are monies that the corpus has held, and then interest earnings are used for expenditures. Just in summary, I think it looks pretty much, very much in line with what we'd expect. Nothing at this point to bring to your attention.
Thank you. To give some little perspective to the council, as Shane and Dean and I had talked in the past, we've seen other entities give quarterly updates throughout their budget year to say, okay, we're a quarter of the way through. How are we looking on each of those items? And some of those, as you see here, are larger than 25%, but would provide some. So more than anything, we wanted to provide updates to the council of where we are throughout the process, throughout the year, to not only provide additional accountability to the payers, to the residents of Kaysville, but also just to keep us on track. If we haven't already, could we just post this first quarter fiscal year 2017 on the website or under the transparency page? I think, I don't know that there will be a huge rush to overload our servers for people dying to look at it, but just in that same spirit of transparency, I think it'd be great to post there. Any questions from the council for Dean at this time? not really, again, any questions you want to ask, but more for your information, and also welcome to follow up with Mr. Story offline if you'd like as well. But any questions to answer tonight? All right. Hearing none, we'll move to the next item on our agenda, which I added the claims and that to my item here, and the downside is I don't have a shortcut to get back up, so. Next item on our
Councilmen
agenda
reports.
is council member reports. Thank you. Any council member reports to bring forward?
I'll just report it more for public FYI, is that Shane actually sent out an email this week to announce it yesterday, that the Pioneer Park Ad Hoc Committee has been formed. We have our first formal meeting next week to begin the process of planning the amenities and uses that would be proposed for Pioneer Park. There are 11 total members, and that includes myself, Cole Stevens, and other Parks and Rec staff members, as well as 8 individuals from the community. So we had some good participation there, and anyway, it looks like it should be fun. So I look forward to reporting back on what we discussed there. One other thing that I wanted to touch base with, I've had discussions with several, city employees, from different departments. And it happens from time to time that members of the public may approach someone who's, say, working in the street or someone who's working at the park. And not all the time. In fact, I don't know how often it happens, but I've had that reported back to me that some city employees are somewhat accosted, or they're approached anyway by members of the public and publicly berated for doing something that they think is wrong or whatever, when they're in the process of just conducting their regular business, whether that's leaving their car running or something along those lines. Anyway, I just wanted to report, I don't know if anybody else has been approached on the council about that, but Shane, what might be, I don't find that that's a particularly useful way to try to correct a problem, is to go up and publicly berate someone. What, Shane, would you suggest if the public does see something, and that's okay, I mean, city staff works as a government, we work for the people. We welcome feedback, constructive feedback from the public. What would be a more appropriate method for someone who has a concern about something they may have, behavior they've observed or something like that they've seen in an employee, to give that feedback?
I would welcome a phone call to me. It's happened many times. I've had someone say, I saw a city vehicle at such and such a location at such and such a time, and wondered if that was an appropriate use of city business. It's something I could then look into, verify that it was or wasn't, and take appropriate action. So it's really nice to, and I, if you just have one location, start with me, then if I need to involve a department head or something, it'd be very easy to do so. So I would encourage that.
Okay, so to reach out to you.
Absolutely.
I mean, the public can reach out to the council. All our emails are on the website as well. The thing about reaching out to us is we'll pretty much come to
Probably.
you anyway.
Hopefully.
And
Absolutely,
right,
yeah.
I mean, that would be what I would do. And so, I think if the public does encounter something like that, where they have, a concern or a problem, go ahead and reach out, to a council member, but also feel free to reach out to the new city manager.
And I would hope people would not just believe that those things aren't going to be taken seriously. I think they should be, and they would be.
Yeah.
So I don't want to assure anybody that they will. So.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Anything else for your councilman report? Any other council member reports?
Just want to real quick make one mention. Last week, the DATC had a ribbon cutting ceremony. They had a job fair, and I was able to go over there, and it really was a huge success. A lot of vendors showed up, and I know that Mayor Hyatt wrote about the DATC in this current newsletter that we have out. What a great resource we have here in Kaysville. And I was really proud of what they've accomplished and how much they give to the community with their resources. And so I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you. Any other council member reports? All right, hearing none, next item on our agenda is approval of minutes. You have one set of minutes dated October 6, 2016. If you've had a chance to review it, welcome a motion for their approval.
I'll make a motion to approve them, Mayor.
I'll second that.
Thank you. A motion by Councilmember Snell and a second by Councilmember Lee for approval of the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next item on our agenda is approval of claims. We've had claims that were distributed to the City Council. If you've had a chance to review it, welcome a motion for their approval.
Sorry, my app just closed. Technology.
I'll move to approve the claims.
I'll second them.
Thank you. A motion by Councilmember Garn, a second by Councilmember Page for approval of the claims. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next item then on our agenda is review of calendar. You have before you a 3-month calendar. Council is, I think most of you are aware, I think Maria's received RSVP from a couple of you. This, on Wednesday, the 26th of October, we have a joint fire drill night at the fire department with the Fruit Heights City Council. Learn a little more about what the fire department does and services they provide. If you haven't had a chance to RSVP, I'd appreciate the opportunity of knowing if you're coming so I can plan accordingly. Aside from that, looking forward to other items. Just make a note on Saturday, November 5th at 11 a.m. is our, I think isn't it 10 a.m.?
I think it's usually 11.
Is it okay?
11
It
a.m.
shows 11.
I don't know why I was thinking it was at 10. I guess we have lunch afterwards, but.
Veterans Day is 11. I think the armistice was signed at 11 a.m. or something. Anyway, so I think that's why
Okay.
I think they do it at 11. I guess we ought to verify that, but I'm pretty sure it's at 11.
The members of the City Council are all invited to attend. We appreciate you being there if your schedule permits. I'd love to have you sit up and pay respect to the veterans. And then after the program is complete, members of the City Council are invited to join the Youth City Council in serving lunches to the veterans, and that's always a great experience. So if you can be there at the start time, which sounds like is 11, I've only done it 8-9 times. I guess I should remember. For whatever reason, I had 10 in my head. But it's a great event put on by volunteers and just tremendous. So thank you for that. And like the format too, Maria, thank you for the calendar. It's great and easy to read. So thank you for that. Our City Council, we do have, I just wanted to make sure we didn't have a conflict in November. So, and any other items for the calendar need to be brought up? All right, hearing none. Next on our agenda is adjournment.
I would love to make the motion to adjourn since it's 8 o'clock straight on the dot.
That's a record.
If I would have been a little,
Second,
if I would have been a little
everyone's
less wordy, we could have said we got done before 8, which would be, but we'll take 8. That's good enough. A motion by Councilmember Snell and a second by Councilmember Page for adjournment. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Sounds like the chambers can be fumigated appropriately.
I can even relax a little.
We got high fives going on over here. That's a sign. I think they just stole them off my desk. So
Oh, that's okay.
I really don't know.
Have fun.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
I had Jolly Ranchers on my, nobody ever.
Yeah, we